It was a quiet night in the small city of North Vale. The streets were almost empty and the air was cold. A young man named Ethan Cole walked alone under the streetlights, his hands in his jacket pockets, his mind lost in thoughts. He was just a normal human, or at least that's what he always believed. Ethan was 22, worked at a small repair shop, and lived an ordinary life. Every day felt the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. But deep inside, he always felt different, as if something inside him was waiting to wake up. Sometimes he would dream of flying through the clouds, breathing fire, or hearing voices calling his name. He never told anyone. Who would believe him? That night the sky looked strange. The stars seemed brighter, and a thin silver light shimmered far above the clouds. Ethan stopped and stared. The wind blew softly around him. Then, suddenly, the light in the sky moved. It wasn't a plane. It was something burning, falling, coming straight toward the hills behind the city. A shockwave followed, shaking the ground. Dogs barked. Alarms went off. The night filled with echoes. But Ethan didn't run away. He ran toward the crash. His heart beat faster with every step. He didn't know why he was doing it. Something in his chest felt warm, pulling him closer like an invisible force. When he reached the hill, smoke filled the air. Trees were broken. The ground cracked. A strange glow came from the center of the crater. Ethan stepped closer and froze. There, lying in the middle of the smoking pit, was a girl. She looked young, maybe his age. Her skin was pale blue, her hair silver like moonlight, and her clothes glowing with strange symbols. In her hand she held a shining crystal pulsing with light. Ethan couldn't believe his eyes. Was this real, a dream? He moved closer. The girl opened her eyes, a bright violet glowing like stars. She looked at him with fear and pain, then whispered something weakly. Her voice was soft but powerful. You are the one, the Dragon King. Before Ethan could speak, she fainted. For a moment, there was only silence, except for the wind. Ethan stood there shaking, staring at the alien girl. He didn't know what to do. Should he call for help? The police? The military? But a strange feeling inside told him no. He had to protect her. He carefully lifted her in his arms. She was warm, lighter than he expected. Her crystal glowed brighter when he touched it, almost reacting to his heartbeat. As he carried her home, he felt that same strange warmth in his chest. Stronger now, burning softly under his skin. When he reached his small house, he placed her on the couch. Her breathing was slow but steady. Ethan looked at her again. Her silver hair shimmered under the lamp. Her skin almost looked unreal. He whispered to himself, "Who are you?" The crystal still glowed faintly on the table. He picked it up, turning it in his hands. It was smooth but seemed alive, pulsing gently, almost like it had a heartbeat. Suddenly it flashed, and a bright golden light filled the room. Ethan dropped it with a gasp. In that flash he saw something, the visions. A massive dragon flying through the stars. A world burning in war. An army of dark shadows following a man in black armor, and then he saw himself, standing tall, covered in golden scales, with fire in his eyes. The light faded. The crystal became silent again. Ethan stood frozen, breathing fast, his mind spinning. What was that? He whispered. Was it a dream? A message? Or a warning? He looked back at the girl. She was still unconscious, but her lips moved slightly. This time he could hear her soft voice again. Don't let them find me. Ethan's heart jumped. Who's coming? He whispered. But she didn't answer. Outside, thunder rolled across the night sky. Dark clouds covered the moon. Something felt wrong. The air grew heavy, as if someone was watching. He walked to the window and looked outside. For a second, he thought he saw a shadow move across the street. Tall, not human. Then it vanished. Ethan locked the door and closed the curtains. He sat beside the alien girl, listening to her quiet breathing. His mind was full of questions, but deep down, a voice whispered inside him, "This is just the beginning." Hours passed. Ethan fell asleep in the chair beside her. But in his dreams, he saw fire again, and a dragon's roar echoed through his mind. He saw the same girl standing in the flames, reaching her hand toward him. When he took it, his whole body burned with golden light. Then he heard her voice again, clear and strong this time. Wake up, Dragon King. Your world is about to change. Ethan woke up suddenly, his heart racing. The room was silent. The girl was gone. Only the crystal remained, glowing softly on the table, like it was waiting for him. He stood up slowly, confused and scared. "Lyra?" he whispered, not knowing why that name came to his mind. The crystal flashed once, and as if answering him, the camera zooms in on his face, eyes full of confusion and fear. Outside, thunder roars again, and a strange light shines in the distance. Something or someone is coming. Narrator voice. He thought he was just a human, but fate had already chosen him for something far greater. The night the stars fell, the Dragon King awoke. The morning sun rose over Northvale, but for Ethan, the world no longer felt the same. He hadn't slept properly. His mind was full of fire, wings, and that glowing crystal. And most of all, that strange blue-skinned girl who had disappeared from his couch in the middle of the night. The crystal still pulsed faintly on the table, like a heartbeat. Ethan stared at it, whispering to himself, "Who are you? And what did you do to me?" Before he could think further, a sudden thud echoed from the backyard. He froze. Slowly he turned toward the sound. Something, or someone, was there. He opened the back door quietly and stepped outside. His breath caught in his throat. There she was, the same girl from the crash, sitting weakly near the old shed, sunlight glimmering on her silver hair. But now her eyes were open, violet and glowing like twin stars. Ethan took a step closer. "You're alive." The girl looked up at him with confusion and pain. Her voice was soft but clear. "You helped me." "Thank you." Ethan knelt beside her. "Who are you? What happened to you? What was that thing that fell from the sky?" She looked around nervously, as if checking if someone was watching. Then she whispered, "My name is Lyra. I'm not from your world." Ethan's eyes widened. He already knew it, but hearing it out loud made it real. "Not from Earth." Lyra shook her head. "I came from Veyron, a planet far beyond your stars. My world is gone now, destroyed by the Dark Empire." Her hands trembled as she spoke. "They hunt my kind. Because of our power. The power of the Dragon Core," Ethan frowned. "Dragon Core? What's that?" Lyra looked straight into his eyes. "It's the soul of a dragon. Pure energy. The heart of creation and destruction. Long ago, your world was connected to ours through this power. But the Dragon Core vanished. Until now." She paused, staring at the crystal on the table through the open window. "That crystal belongs to it. And it chose you, Ethan." He stepped back, shaking his head. "Chose me? I'm just a mechanic. I fix bikes and old radios. I'm not chosen for anything." Lyra's tone hardened. "You don't understand. The moment you touched that crystal, the bond was made. The Dragon Core inside you has awakened." Ethan laughed nervously. "You're joking. I'm human. I can't have some dragon inside me." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "Then how do you explain this?" She raised her hand, and a small flame appeared in her palm, swirling like a tiny sun. Then she touched his chest gently. Instantly his skin burned, and not painfully but powerfully. A golden mark appeared near his heart, shaped like a dragon's eye. Ethan gasped and stumbled back. What is this?" Lyra looked at him sadly. "It's your destiny. You are the next Dragon King." Before Ethan could respond, a loud sound filled the air, a low hum like machinery mixed with thunder. The sky above them darkened. Lyra's expression changed from calm to pure fear. "No, they found me." Ethan looked up. A strange portal opened in the air, a swirling black hole of energy. 3 dark figures stepped out, tall, armored, and not human. Their eyes glowed red, and strange weapons buzzed in their hands. Ethan's heart raced. "Who are they?" Lyra whispered, "The Hunters of Zephyr. They serve the Dark Emperor. They came for me, and now, for you." Before he could move, one of the hunters fired a blast of blue energy. It hit the ground beside him, exploding in a wave of fire. Ethan fell, coughing, dirt flying around him. Lyra stood in front of him, spreading her hands. A glowing shield appeared around them, crackling with golden light. The hunters fired again and again, each blast shaking the barrier. Ethan shouted, "We have to run." Lyra's voice was calm but fierce. "No, they won't stop. I must protect the Dragon Core. And you." She closed her eyes, her body glowing with light. The crystal from the table floated into her hand. She pressed it against Ethan's chest. The golden mark flared brightly. "Wait, what are you doing?" Ethan shouted, her voice echoed inside his mind. "Awaken, Dragon King, let your fire rise." A wave of heat exploded through him. His body shook. His eyes turned gold. Flames burst from the ground around him. He screamed, not in pain but power. Scales appeared on his arms. The earth cracked beneath his feet. The hunters stepped back in fear. Lyra looked at him proudly. "Now you see who you truly are." Ethan lifted his hand, and golden fire shot out, hitting one of the hunters and throwing him through the air. The others attacked again, but Ethan moved faster than ever before. It felt like his instincts had... He struck, fire surrounding him, his voice mixing with a dragon's roar. Within seconds, the hunters were gone, ashes blown away by the wind. Then silence. The power faded. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping for air. His scales slowly vanished. Lyra knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You did it," she said softly. Ethan looked up at her, eyes full of confusion. "What did you do to me?" Lyra smiled faintly. "I didn't do anything. The dragon inside you finally woke up." He stared at his trembling hands. "I'm a monster now." Lyra shook her head. "No, you're something greater. But the Dark Empire won't stop. You have a power they fear, and they will come again." Ethan looked at the black smoke rising in the distance. "What do they want?" Lyra's eyes dimmed, sadness in her voice. "They want to control you. Because if they control the Dragon King, they control every world." The wind blew cold. In the distance, thunder rolled once again, but this time it didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like wings, narrator voice. He thought his life had changed once. But this was only the beginning. The Dragon King had awakened, and the universe had noticed. The night was silent again. But Ethan's heart wasn't. He could still feel the fire under his skin, the same fire that had burst out of him when Lyra touched his chest. His arms still burned with faint golden marks, glowing in the dark like living veins of light. He sat beside the campfire in the forest where they had hidden. Lyra was sitting opposite him, her face pale from exhaustion. She had used too much power protecting him from the hunters. Ethan wanted to ask 100 questions, but fear kept his mouth closed. He finally spoke, his voice shaking. "What happened to me last night? I felt like something else took over me." Lyra looked into the flames. "That was your first awakening. The Dragon Core has accepted you as its vessel, but it is only the beginning. You must learn to control it. Before it controls you." Ethan frowned. "Control it? You make it sound like a monster." Lyra's voice grew soft but serious. "Every Dragon King carries 2 souls, one of man and one of beast. When the beast rises without balance, it destroys everything and even its host." The fire crackled. The night air grew colder. Ethan shivered, feeling a strange pulse in his chest, deep, heavy, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to him. He whispered, "I can feel something inside me." Watching, Lyra nodded slowly. "That is the Shadow Dragon, the other half of the Dragon Core. It feeds on rage, fear, and doubt. If you lose control, it will take your body, and you'll never return." Ethan stared into the dark forest. The trees seemed to whisper, the wind carrying a low growl. He swallowed hard. "So I'm a walking bomb?" Lyra smiled weakly. "No. You are a king learning to hold his crown." They trained through the following days. Lyra showed him how to summon fire from his breath, how to harden his skin like scales, and how to listen to the rhythm of his heart. At first, Ethan struggled. Every time he tried to control the fire, it would explode violently, burning trees and shaking the ground. But slowly his control grew stronger. One night, as they rested beside a lake, Lyra told him about her world. "Veyron was once a place of light," she said softly, her reflection shining in the water. "The Dragon Kings ruled the stars, protecting life across galaxies. But Zephyr, our greatest warrior, fell into darkness. He wanted more than power, and he wanted immortality." Ethan listened quietly. Lyra's eyes darkened. To gain it, he consumed the Shadow Dragon's soul. And when he did, he lost his own. He became the Emperor of the Dark Empire, and destroyed my world. Ethan clenched his fists. "So that's why he wants me?" "Yes," Lyra said. "You carry the last pure Dragon Core, the light he could never control." Ethan looked at the sky. Stars spread like diamonds. "If he comes again, I'll be ready." Lyra smiled, but sadness lingered in her eyes. "You're brave, Ethan. But remember, the fire inside you can burn the world if you lose yourself. The next morning, Ethan woke to strange whispers. They weren't Lyra's voice. They came from inside his head, a deep echoing tone that chilled his blood. You think she's saving you, but she's using you. Ethan froze. Who's there? I am what you fear. I am what you will become. He grabbed his head, feeling dizzy. The ground trembled. His eyes flickered gold. Stop, get out of my mind! Lyra ran toward him. Ethan, control it! But his power burst out before he could stop it. Golden fire exploded around him. Trees burned. The earth cracked. Wings of light began to form from his back, the half-real, half-energy. His eyes turned bright gold as his voice deepened, mixed with a roar that shook the sky. Lyra raised her shield again, shouting, Ethan, fight it, listen to me. But the shadow dragon's voice echoed louder inside him. She lied to you. You're not her savior. You're her weapon, Ethan screamed, clutching his chest. The dragon mark on his heart turned dark. He saw visions, Zephyr standing before him laughing. You are just like me, the Dark Lord said. Soon you'll burn everything you love. Ethan dropped to his knees, tears mixing with sweat and ash. I'm not like you, he growled. But the voice answered, then prove it. With one final burst of strength, Ethan slammed his hand into the ground. A shockwave of golden light spread through the forest, extinguishing the flames. Then everything went black. When he woke, the world was quiet again. He lay on the cold ground, breathing heavily. Lyra was beside him, weak but alive. She touched his hand gently. You almost lost yourself. Ethan looked at her with guilt. I almost hurt you. Lyra smiled softly. You didn't because you fought it. That means you still have control. Ethan sat up slowly, the mark on his chest glowing faintly once more. He whispered, that voice. It said I'd destroy everything. What if it's right? Lyra's tone turned firm. Then we'll make sure it's wrong. She looked toward the horizon. Zephyr won't stop. He knows you're awakening faster than expected. He will come himself next time. Ethan stood, fists clenched, his eyes burning with golden light. Then let him come. I'll be ready. Lyra looked at him, a shadow of fear in her eyes. She didn't tell him the truth. That the faster his power grew, the closer the shadow dragon came to taking full control. As they walked away from the burning forest, thunder rolled again in the distance, not from the sky, but from a massive ship entering Earth's orbit. Narrator voice. The Dragon King had awakened. But the beast inside him had awakened too, and soon both light and shadow would decide the fate of worlds. The forest burned for 3 days. By the time the flames died, Ethan and Lyra had vanished. High in the cold mountains of North Vale Ridge, far away from human eyes, they built a hidden refuge, a cave that glowed softly with blue crystals. It was quiet there, safe. For now. Ethan sat cross-legged, his body covered in faint gold scales that shimmered in the dim light. He could feel the fire inside him, restless, wild, hungry. Lyra stood nearby, watching him with calm eyes, but deep inside she feared what she saw. He wasn't just awakening, he was changing. Again, Lyra said firmly. Ethan opened his palm. A small flame appeared, floating gently above his skin. Control it, she whispered. He focused, sweat running down his face. The flame trembled but stayed alive. Then suddenly it expanded, wild and violent, until it exploded into a blast of golden fire. Ethan gasped, falling backward. The rock wall behind him cracked from the heat. Lyra rushed forward. You're losing focus again. I'm trying. Ethan shouted, his eyes glowing faintly. It's like it doesn't listen to me anymore. Lyra placed her hand on his chest, her voice soft. The dragon core listens to your heart, not your fear. When you doubt yourself, it turns against you. Ethan looked down at her hand. The golden mark on his chest pulsed once. He nodded slowly. Then I'll stop doubting. Days passed. Ethan trained under storms, waterfalls, and silence. He learned to call the wind, to make the earth rise beneath his feet, and to summon his wings. Wings made of pure energy and fire. But every night when he closed his eyes, the voice returned. That dark whisper that lived deep inside him. She's lying to you, Ethan. You're not training to save the world. You're training to destroy it. He tried to ignore it, but the more power he gained, the louder the voice became. Sometimes he would wake in the middle of the night, claw marks on the cave walls, the air thick with smoke. And Lyra, always there watching him, her eyes filled with something between fear and sadness. One night during a storm, Ethan trained at the cliff's edge. Lightning cracked across the sky as he tried to focus his power. Lyra called out, "Enough for today!" But he didn't listen. He felt unstoppable. He raised his hand, the air shimmered, and a massive blast of golden fire tore through the clouds, splitting the night. Lyra shielded her eyes. "Ethan, stop!" He turned to her. His face was different. His pupils had turned into narrow dragon slits. His voice deeper. "I can feel it, Lyra, the power. It's endless, Ethan," she said carefully, stepping closer. "You're letting the shadow in." "I'm controlling it," he growled. "You said I could use both, light and dark." She shook her head. "Not like this." But before she could reach him, the wind exploded outward. Ethan roared, a sound mixed with pain and rage. Lightning struck his wings, spreading fire through the air. He screamed, collapsing to his knees. The fire died. The night fell silent again. Lyra rushed forward and held him as he trembled. Tears mixed with the rain on his face. I saw something," he whispered. "A city burning, dragons fighting, and Zephyr standing over me." Lyra's eyes widened. "You're seeing the future." Ethan looked at her, voice trembling. "Does that mean I become like him?" She hesitated, just for a moment. But he saw it. That silence told him more than any words could. Later that night, Lyra stood alone near the cave entrance. The wind blew her silver hair as she held a small glowing shard, a piece of her own energy crystal. A voice echoed from it, distant, mechanical, cold. "Status report, Guardian Lyra. Has the Dragon King accepted the binding?" She hesitated, whispering, "Not yet, but he's close. You know the consequences if he loses control. The Dragon King must either be contained or destroyed." Lyra closed her eyes, tears running down her face. "I won't destroy him," she whispered. "He's not like Zephyr." The voice replied, "All Dragon Kings fall. It is only a matter of time." She crushed the shard in her hand, the light fading away. Behind her, Ethan watched silently from the shadows, his golden eyes glowing faintly. The next morning, Lyra acted normal, as if nothing had happened. But Ethan's trust had cracked. During training, he asked quietly, "You ever keep secrets from me?" She froze for a second, then smiled faintly. "Everyone has secrets, Ethan, even kings." He nodded, pretending to accept it, but the voice in his mind laughed. "She's lying. She fears you. She's preparing to end you." Ethan clenched his fists. "Shut up." Lyra looked at him curiously. "What?" "Nothing," he muttered, forcing a smile. That night he dreamt again. This time he saw Zephyr clearly, standing in a burning throne room wearing dark armor made of scales. "Your power grows fast," Zephyr said, his tone calm but cold. "But you're training with someone who betrayed her own kind." Ethan stepped closer. "What are you talking about?" Zephyr smirked. "Lyra isn't your savior. She's your warden. She was sent to control you, or kill you if you turn." The dream shattered into flames. Ethan woke up gasping, his hands burning with fire. Lyra rushed in. "Ethan, what happened?" He looked at her, his eyes glowing bright gold. "Tell me the truth," he said darkly. "Why are you really here?" Lyra stayed silent. The glow from the crystal in her pocket flickered once. Ethan's fire rose around him, his heart torn between trust and rage. He whispered, "If you lie to me again, the Dragon King inside me won't stop." Thunder rolled again across the mountains, shaking the cave walls, and somewhere beyond the clouds a massive dark ship was descending. The Dark Empire had arrived. Narrator voice. He was training to control his power, but the real battle was inside his soul, and soon the Dragon King would face the greatest betrayal of all. The night over Northvale Ridge was darker than ever. The stars disappeared behind thick black clouds and lightning flashed across the sky. Not natural lightning, but something else. Something alive. From the heavens, a massive shadow broke through the storm. It wasn't a ship. It was a fortress floating in the air, shaped like a dragon with wings made of metal. Its eyes glowed red. Its engines roared like thunder. The Dark Empire had arrived. In the mountain cave, Ethan stood at the entrance, staring up at the dark sky. His golden eyes reflected the firelight as Lyra walked up behind him. "They've found us," she said softly. Ethan didn't move. His voice was calm but heavy. "You knew this was coming." Lyra hesitated. "I thought we had more time." He turned to her slowly. No, you knew. You've been hiding something from me since the beginning. Lyra looked down. Ethan, But before she could finish, the mountain shook violently. A beam of red light struck the valley below, cutting through the forest like a blade. Ethan looked toward the firestorm below. They're destroying everything. Lyra's voice broke. They're not here for the planet. They're here for you. Moments later, the sky filled with smaller ships, dark hunters with glowing wings. They flew down like a swarm of crows, blasting the mountainside. Ethan raised his hand and a golden barrier burst around them, blocking the explosions. Lyra shouted over the noise, "We have to move! They'll surround us." Ethan's fire burned in his veins. No, I'm done running. His wings of golden energy flared to life, lightning crackling around him. He looked up at the fortress in the clouds. If Zephyr wants me, then he'll face me. Lyra tried to stop him, but before she could, Ethan launched into the sky, a streak of light breaking through the storm. The battlefield above the clouds was chaos. Dozens of enemy ships surrounded him, firing plasma bolts and missiles. Ethan spun through the air, dodging, blasting fire, shattering one ship after another. But for every one he destroyed, more appeared. He landed on a massive airship and slammed his hand down, golden fire spreading across its metal surface like molten lava. The ship exploded, sending him flying back through the storm. When the smoke cleared, he saw it in the fortress door opening. And from the light within stepped Zephyr, tall, armored in black and crimson, his wings made of shadow and steel. His voice echoed through the clouds, calm but terrifying. So, the last Dragon King finally shows himself. Ethan's fire glowed brighter. You killed her people. You destroyed her world. Zephyr smiled beneath his mask. And soon I'll destroy yours. But first, I'll take back what's mine. He pointed at Ethan's chest, where the golden mark burned like a heart of fire. The sky exploded as they clashed. Each blow shook the clouds. Lightning danced between them, fire and shadow colliding like gods at war. Ethan fought with fury, every strike filled with rage and pain. But Zephyr was faster, stronger, older. He moved like a storm, a shadow that could read every move Ethan made. Zephyr struck him across the chest, sending him crashing through a mountain peak. Ethan roared, pushing himself up again, fire bleeding from his wounds. "I'll never be like you," he shouted. Zephyr's voice was cold. "You already are." With one motion, Zephyr unleashed a dark blast that tore through the sky, hitting Ethan full force. Ethan fell, crashing into the forest below, fire spreading in his wake. Lyra found him lying among the burning trees. She knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, stay with me!" He opened his eyes weakly. "You knew he'd come." Lyra looked away. "I wanted to protect you. Protect me? Or control me?" His voice was weak but sharp. Her silence was enough. Ethan turned his head, coughing. "He said you were sent to bind me." Lyra's tears fell faster. "It's true. I was sent by the last guardians of Veyron. If you lost control, I was ordered to seal your power forever, even if it meant ending your life." Ethan's hand tightened into a fist. "So that's it. You never trusted me." Lyra shook her head. "I believed in you, Ethan. I still do. But you have to understand, your power can destroy galaxies." The Guardians feared another Zephyr. He tried to stand, flames flickering weakly around him. His eyes glowed gold through the pain. "I'm not him. I'll prove it." The ground shook again, Zephyr's fortress descending through the clouds. The trees were torn apart by the storm around it. Lyra stood, holding out her hands, creating a massive barrier of blue light. "Go, Ethan. You're too weak to fight him now." Ethan looked at her. "And leave you?" Lyra smiled sadly. "You're the Dragon King. You're the only hope left." She turned toward the fortress as dark soldiers emerged from the shadows. Dozens of them, armored in black flame, carrying weapons of light and darkness. Ethan tried to help her, but his body wouldn't move. His strength was gone. Lyra raised her hands, shouting, "You'll have to go through me!" The soldiers surrounded her. Red beams cut through the air. There was an explosion of light, and everything went white. When the smoke cleared, the forest was silent. Ethan crawled through the ashes, calling her name. "Lyra, Lyra!" He found her lying on the ground, glowing faintly, her body fading into particles of light. She smiled weakly. "Don't cry, Ethan. My spirit will always be with you." He held her hand tightly, his voice breaking. "No, please, stay with me." Her last words were a whisper. "Rise, Dragon King. Finish what we started." Then she was gone, her body turning into starlight and drifting into the night sky. Ethan screamed, a sound that shook the mountains. His eyes blazed like twin suns, and the ground around him split apart. A golden aura erupted, rising to the heavens. From above, Zephyr watched with a cold smile. "So the pain begins," he said. "Now he'll understand what it means to be a Dragon King." Narrator voice. Love turned to loss. Hope turned to rage. And in that moment, the Dragon King's true fire was born. The forest that once burned with golden fire now lay in ashes. Only silence remained, and a single man kneeling among the ruins, Ethan. Cole, the last Dragon King. His hands trembled. As the last spark of Lyra's light faded into the night sky, the wind carried, her voice faint, almost gone. "Rise, Dragon King." He looked up, tears burning in his golden eyes. The stars above seemed to flicker, like they were watching. Ethan stood slowly, the mark on his chest glowing brighter than ever. But this time it wasn't pure gold. It was mixed, half light, half shadow. Something inside him had changed. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time no longer mattered. Ethan wandered through the wastelands alone, surviving on the raw power that burned within him. The world had turned against him. The sky was darker, the air heavier. Each night he saw visions of Lyra, her smile, her voice, and the moment she died. Every memory fueled the fire inside him, but that fire had become dangerous. It whispered to him now. A deep ancient voice. "You could save her. If you accepted me." Ethan closed his eyes, fists clenched. "I won't listen to you." "You already are," the voice replied. It was the shadow dragon, the dark half of the dragon core now alive inside him. And it was getting stronger. One night, Ethan reached the edge of a canyon, endless, glowing with strange blue light. As he looked down, the ground cracked beneath him. The light rose, forming the shape of a massive dragon made of energy and flame. It spoke in a voice that shook the earth. "You carry two souls, human, one of light and one of shadow. Choose one or be destroyed by both." Ethan raised his head, his voice steady. "I'll choose neither. I'll make them one." The dragon's eyes blazed. "Then prove it." The ground shattered, and Ethan fell. He landed in a strange realm, a place between worlds. Floating islands, rivers of fire, and a sky filled with stars that moved like living things. It was the realm of spirits, the resting place of every Dragon King before him. Voices echoed all around. "Another human, another fool chasing power. He will fall like the rest." Ethan stood tall, fire glowing beneath his skin. "I'm not here for power. I'm here to bring her back." A bright light appeared before him, with a woman made of stars. It was Lyra's spirit. She smiled softly. "You can't bring me back, Ethan. My time is gone." He shook his head. "Then I'll tear open the stars themselves." She stepped closer, touching his face with light. "You can't save the dead, but you can save the living. You were never chosen to destroy. You were chosen to protect." Her words wrapped around his heart like warmth in winter. Then she whispered, "To defeat Zephyr, you must master both your light and your darkness." Her light faded, leaving behind only a single crystal, glowing half gold, half black. Ethan picked it up, his reflection shining in its surface. "I'll use both," he said quietly. "Light to guide me, darkness to give me strength." When he opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the spirit realm. He was standing on a blackened planet, destroyed, silent, and cold. Ruins stretched for miles. This was Veyron, Lyra's homeworld. The wind carried the screams of the past. Ethan walked through the ruins, his boots echoing against broken stone. At the center of the city stood a massive tower, burned but still standing. He climbed it slowly, and when he reached the top, he saw it. Zephyr's fortress floating in the sky, surrounded by stars and lightning. Ethan's golden eyes blazed. He whispered, "I'm coming for you." For days, Ethan trained alone in the ruins of Veyron. He learned to control his two flames, gold and black, combining them until they became one pure energy. When he fought, his aura twisted like a storm, light and darkness moving in perfect balance. He was no longer the same boy who feared his power. He was becoming something else, something greater. When he spoke, even the air seemed to listen. His voice carried through the wind. I am not the light. I am not the shadow. I am the fire that binds them both. At that moment the ground shook. A massive shape appeared in the sky. Wings spreading wide, eyes glowing red. Zephyr's fortress had found him again, but this time, Ethan didn't run. He raised his hand, and the very earth lifted beneath him, forming a glowing bridge of energy. He walked across it slowly, his aura shining brighter with every step. The Shadow Dragon's voice echoed again. You can't win. He is the first, the eternal. Ethan's voice was calm. Then I'll be the last and the one who ends it. When he reached the fortress, the doors opened by themselves. Inside, Zephyr stood waiting, calm, unshaken, surrounded by the ashes of countless worlds. So, the boy returns, Zephyr said with a smirk. Did you come to beg for mercy? Ethan's eyes glowed fiercely. No, I came to return your gift. Zephyr tilted his head. My gift? Ethan spread his wings, one golden, one black, light and shadow swirling together in perfect harmony. A new energy filled the air, not pure, not evil, but balanced. This power, Zephyr whispered, his smirk fading. Impossible. Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady like thunder. You took everything from me. You destroyed her world. You killed her. Now, I'll destroy your empire and end your reign. The walls trembled as their energy collided. Golden fire against dark lightning. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Narrator voice. He was once a human, broken and lost. But now he had become the bridge between light and shadow. The Dragon King had returned, not for revenge, but for destiny. The skies above Veyron burned once more. Zephyr's fortress hovered over the ruins, its shadow covering an entire continent. Lightning twisted through the black clouds. And beneath that storm of death, the Dragon King returned. Ethan stepped onto the battlefield, the ashes of old dragons beneath his feet. His eyes glowed golden black, light and darkness swirling together in balance. His wings opened wide, stretching across the horizon. Every breath he took made the ground tremble. Every heartbeat echoed like thunder. He whispered, Lyra, this is for you. From the fortress Zephyr descended, tall, armored, calm as a god of war. His blade burned with shadows and his voice carried through the wind. So, you survived. You've mastered both sides of the core. Impressive. Ethan's fire rose around him, forming a ring of golden energy. I didn't survive, he said coldly. I changed. Zephyr laughed, a deep, echoing sound that shook the air. Changed? No. You've become exactly what I was, and a fool who thinks balance can defeat chaos. Ethan clenched his fists. Maybe, but at least I fight for something real. Zephyr's eyes narrowed. Then show me your truth, the air exploded. They moved faster than sight, fire and shadow colliding in a storm that tore the sky apart. Each strike shattered the clouds. Each roar made the stars flicker. Ethan's flames wrapped around his body, forming armor of gold and black light. Zephyr's sword cut through time itself, bending the air. They fought across worlds, their energy blasting through the sky, creating cracks in reality. On Earth, people looked up and saw two burning comets dancing among the stars, gods in battle. At one point, Zephyr threw Ethan across a ruined tower. He landed hard, coughing blood, his armor cracking. Zephyr approached slowly. You can't win, boy. I've lived for 10,000 years. I've killed every Dragon King before you. Ethan struggled to his feet. Then maybe it's time your story ends. Zephyr raised his sword, a black flame forming at its tip. I'll make your death quick. He swung on, but Ethan caught the blade with his bare hands. Fire and shadow wrapped around them both. Their power exploded outward, forming a massive crater miles wide. When the dust cleared, Ethan was still standing, his body glowing brighter than ever. Zephyr looked shocked for the first time. What are you? Ethan smiled faintly. Not light, not shadow. Something beyond both. Suddenly, the sky itself began to split open. Energy spiraled into the heavens, a vortex of pure creation and destruction. It was the heart of the Dragon Core awakened at last. Lyra's voice echoed through the air, gentle and powerful. Ethan, the final test has come. Only one soul can hold the core. You must choose what to become. Zephyr raised his sword, laughing. Then I choose everything. He threw his blade into the sky, merging his body with the storm. His armor shattered into wings of darkness, his eyes turning pure red. He became the eternal dragon, half god, half void. The earth began to collapse under the weight of his power. Ethan closed his eyes, his flames dimming. For a moment there was silence. Then he whispered, "Lyra, lend me your light one last time." The wind howled. The golden crystal Lyra had left began to glow in Ethan's hand. Her voice spoke softly. "You already have my light, Ethan. It was never gone." He placed the crystal on his chest, and the mark of the Dragon King blazed brighter than the sun. A wave of golden-black energy erupted from him, spreading across the battlefield. When he opened his eyes, his wings had changed, not made of fire or light, but pure energy. His voice echoed like 1,000 dragons roaring in unison. "Zephyr, your era ends now. The final battle began. Fire met darkness. Light met shadow. Each strike created shockwaves that shattered mountains, split oceans, and burned stars. Ethan flew higher, punching through Zephyr's storm. Zephyr countered, sending black lightning straight through his chest, but Ethan didn't stop. He grabbed Zephyr by the throat, shouting, "You destroyed her world for power. You killed for control. But power isn't control, it's choice." Zephyr roared, blasting him away. "Choice is weakness." Ethan's fire surged again, brighter than ever. "Then I'll show you what weakness can do." He gathered every drop of energy left in his body. Golden light and black flame twisted together, forming a massive sphere above his head. The eclipse flame, the true power of the Dragon King. Zephyr charged forward, wings spread wide. They collided at the center of the storm, and the universe went silent. A flash of pure white light filled the sky. Everything froze. When the light faded, the fortress was gone. The storm was gone. Only silence remained, and a single figure falling through the clouds. Ethan landed softly on the ruins, his wings fading. His armor was cracked, his body weak, but he was alive. He looked around, and the stars clearer than ever. The darkness had vanished. Then he saw something, a small spark of light floating toward him. It formed into a faint figure, Lyra's spirit smiling. "You did it," she said softly. Ethan smiled back through tears. "We did it." She placed her hand over his heart. "The Dragon Core is whole again. You've united both sides, and you've become the balance." Her voice grew faint. "I must go now, Ethan. My soul is free." He shook his head. "No, please stay," she smiled. "You'll never be alone. Wherever there's fire, I'll be there." Her light faded into the stars. Ethan stood alone on the quiet mountain, dawn breaking in the distance. The sky was golden. He looked toward the horizon and whispered, "I was just a human, until an alien girl made me a Dragon King." The wind carried his words into the rising sun. His wings appeared one last time, glowing softly, before he soared into the heavens, leaving a trail of golden fire behind. Narrator voice, final line. "From ashes he rose, from love he burned, and from destiny he became legend. The Dragon King, protector of worlds,